your busy schedule. It's really important to the members of the NYPD, all the ranks in the room here, the other agencies, the Port Authority, the MTA, ATF. We have to turn things around, and we appreciate your time. And as a token of our appreciation, we just have a little gift package for everyone here to make you an honorary detective today.
All right.
So we'll just pass out these.
Got some wine.
This is Nicole.
They have a hat there that.
This is specifically for Nicole.
Actually, I had to on one of these for my dad, a retired detective.
Well, if I could all thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for spending some time with us today. Paul, thank you for opening up, but more importantly, thank you for the job that you do. I want you to know that you're respected, you're appreciated, and if we're fortunate in 96 days to set a new path for this direction of this country, there will be no longer talk about defunding the police. We'll be talking about funding the police, providing the incentive for more people to do the job, protecting you against crimes against yourself, finding the ability on cop grants, but utilizing that to get these prosecutors to uphold the law which they were elected to do, but not pick and choose which law they're going. We watch so many challenges and watch crime continue to rise. This no cash bail, which you talked about in the Discovery and others, and just the revolving door. I mean, just reading the post today where 10 people are responsible for more than 500 crimes. But it's happening across the country on these Democrat-run cities. We're watching homicide at new levels. Robbery, rapes continue to rise. There isn't one person in America that doesn't want to feel safe in their streets. And the one thing that we have found, putting a number of members together in the task forces for our American Security Task Force, which Nicole helped on as well. These are the elements that we'll bring forward. We're fortunate to be able to have the majority. There will be a new direction with a plan to help reduce crime, make our streets safe again, and support those who are protecting us at the same time. And to have a number of people here, Anthony, I don't know if you want to say anything. I know you're a councilman, you're running for Congress, but your first job was an officer protecting the streets.
Thank you, Leader. It's really great that you took the time to come here to New York City today to be amongst some of the greatest police departments in the world. And I look forward come January to working with you and Nicole and George and Colin and the Republican members of our caucus in a majority to really change the narrative here, especially from the delegation in New York, and let people know throughout this country and throughout this state that we have people in office that back the blue, that support law enforcement, and that care about the work that they do each and every day. Everybody in this room that wears the uniform, that wears the shield, goes to work every day to keep, and uphold the Constitution that the oath that they swore to protect and serve. And it is our job to make sure that we can protect and serve them as well.
Now, Allison, you put your life on the line for 24 years,
Yes, sir.
and you would have done 40.
Yes,
But you were
sir.
willing to sacrifice. They made you to be able to run, but you have watched what happened on the street. And one of your platforms is really safety and security. And we watched your partner you're running with, Lee Zeldin, be attacked even on his own speech about crime.
It was actually in the middle of the speech
Yeah.
about crime, funnily enough. Yeah, I did have to retire from my beloved police department to become the candidate for lieutenant governor to run alongside of Congressman Lee Zeldin to take, hopefully in 96 days, to bring the common sense and integrity back to Albany and send a clear-cut message to Washington. I can't thank you enough for being here, and Congresswoman Malikakis, you as well, for being here to listen to this. Because as the police in the room will back me up when I say, we talk about data and statistics, but the reason that we raised our right hand and took this oath of office and put ourselves out on the line as police officers is every statistic and every data point is a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And every victim has a family. So these crime waves are having a rippling effect through some of our most sensitive and most vulnerable communities. The very communities that the politician in Albany and Washington are saying that they're looking to protect. I was a commanding officer in Brooklyn North, and when they started to champion the defund the police movement, I had my elderly residents in some of the housing developments in Brooklyn begging to see their police again. It's not about taking funding away from the police. Police officers wear so many hats that we depend on, whether it's a big brother or sister, whether it's a friend, a divorce counselor, a mediator. Sometimes we're rescuing a small child from atrocities by a parent, and then going to hold the hand of an elderly woman who just lost her husband, and then potentially a firefight where we're putting our lives on the line for strangers. This is what we have to fund. We have to give our police all of the training and the resources so that they can be the absolute best that they can be. And it begins with top-down leadership. That's why I'm so thankful to you both for being here today, to show our officers that Washington, and hopefully when Congressman Zeldin and I get into Albany as governor and lieutenant governor, the state will have your back. And we will back the blue and support the innocent New Yorkers of the city and the state. What is it to say about everyday New Yorkers when a sitting congressman can get attacked on stage by an individual who is let out within 6 hours? Within 6 hours, no one.
He never would have been arrested if the press didn't have the attention and the feds didn't push it, and only because Lee was an elected congressman.
Absolutely, and they want to say that everyone is playing politics on what the charge was. The charge, assault 2, should be eligible for bail if the judge is given the discretion to weigh the seriousness of the offense and the past history. This is what we need to bring. We need to restore sanity back to New York State.
So in August, I'm traveling to 25 states. I'm doing things just like this, talking about ways that we can lower inflation, how we become energy independent. Safety and security. It's a very big issue here, but it's a big issue in every single city across America because of this progressive movement of defunding the police. Electing these prosecutors will not uphold the law. Luckily, Nicole, you ran last time, and you had to defeat somebody that would walk out there with a sign that said defund the police. And I think from your district, you had a lot of individuals that risk their lives every single day to defend people. So you have been at the forefront of making sure that defunding the police goes away and the support for police in Congress is only stronger.
Yeah, I want to thank the leader for coming to New York City. He's really been supportive in terms of wanting to allow the membership to come together in various task forces on different issues. And I'm really proud to have been appointed to the American Security Task Force by the leader. And we've done roundtables like this around the country, including one here in the office last year, where we've went back and really developed a bunch of recommendations that we intend to champion next year when we take back the House. I think one of our challenges has always been that a lot of these problems have been created by city and state leadership. And what could we do on the federal level? Well, I think some of the things that the leader laid out in terms of making sure that we are providing more funding to our police, but also making sure that we're incentivizing retention, that we are exposing prosecutors. And one of the bills that I've introduced is a bill that would require them to report the number of people that they've failed to charge or drop charges or reduce charges, and then to see the recidivism in that. And then we feel that by doing that, number one, it gives the public the ability to make a choice for their future. We saw what happened in San Francisco. New York doesn't have a recall law, but in those states where you do have recall laws, this would give them the information that they need to then make a better choice in terms of who they're electing as prosecutors. And I think one of the other good pieces of legislation I think can go after the state's bail law is requiring that every state allows judges to consider dangerousness. And as you know, New York is the only state right now that has implemented bail reform where they've eliminated cashless bail, but has not given the state judges discretion to make decisions based on someone's career, criminal history, and I think that's or potential danger to society, which I think is a major difference between New York's law and others around the country. So Look, we look forward to continuing to work with you to see what we can do to try to help you and try to hold these states and municipalities accountable so that they do the right thing as well. And one last thing is, I know, with qualified immunity and some of the other issues that you faced here in New York Police Department, they brought a bill just this last year, it was one of the first bills when I was in Congress, that would strip qualified immunity from police departments all across the country. That was a major party line vote, and that just goes to show you the type of policies that they've pushed. Prior to Nancy Pelosi even tried to put bail reform in the COVID relief package in the initial one before I was elected. So these are the types of things that we're keeping an eye out and we're trying to stop. And I thank the leader for making public safety in America's cities one of his utmost priorities.
Colin, you're in the State House, you've got a bill to actually repeal a lot of these bad laws, and cashless bail and everything as well. You want to say a few things?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leader, for coming to New York. Unfortunately, because of one-party control from the State House all the way to the White House, New Yorkers are suffering under a wave of lawlessness and growing disrespect for law enforcement. It's unacceptable. We have legislation in the State Assembly to repeal the failed no bail law. We need to repeal the failed no bail law. We need to restore respect and the ability for our law enforcement to keep our families safe. That's why it's more important than ever that we win back the House majority this November, because we have leaders in New York who are unwilling to recognize what is going on in all of our communities. Whether you're in the Hudson Valley like myself, New York City, we've gotten to an unacceptable level now, and it's going to take serious leaders. And we need to be those serious leaders, since our governor and our state legislators are unwilling to listen to common sense and to listen to data to keep every family in New York safe.
George, I know you've had some roundtables yourself in your district as well, listening to the police officers as well, what needs to get done.
I know recently we've been sitting down a lot with law enforcement locally. I even put the detective's badge from Nassau County on today, as they've been very supportive, and I've been trying to work with the community. Our police commissioner, Pat Ryder, has been very attentive in working with us, politicians, candidates, to make sure that we can deliver a safer Long Island in general. Crime is not just happening in the city; it's tripping and falling right over into Nassau County, and we're seeing upticks in crimes that we haven't seen since the '80s. Again, taking back the house, and I want to thank the leader for coming here to push a strong message to show that we're ready and poised to take back the house so that we can restore common sense, and that everybody knows that we do back the blue, and we will stand with the blue in order to deliver a safe, common sense America for all Americans. So I thank you all for sitting with us today, and thank you again, leader, for coming down to New York.
I want to thank all the law enforcement officers that participated in the roundtable. This is productive for us. We want to make sure that this country turns us around, that we have safety and security throughout the nation, that we protect our officers, we don't defund them, and most importantly, that we have safe streets. Every single American wants this. This should not be a partisan issue, but unfortunately, the extreme position that the Democrats have taken, they started in the House about defunding things. They moved it across the country into their prosecutors and others, and we're looking at what the damage that has been done now, the lives that have been lost. And just talking here with the detectives, where you got 5,400 detectives on duty, but at the height was 2001, there was more than 7,000. When you look at the crime today, we need more. But it's hard to recruit people to go into law enforcement today based upon how people are treated and respected. That's all going to change in 96 days, I promise you that. And that's what we're going about doing. Task forces out there, talking to the American public, listening to you, and finding solutions. Because we have a plan to put America on a different path. With that, let me open up for questions.
Leader McCarthy, you said that Democratic leaders are soft on crime, unsurprisingly, but we have a Democratic mayor of this city, Eric Adams, who said much of the same things that you're saying in terms of reducing recidivism, toughening bail laws, and supporting law enforcement. How do you square that?
The square that is the Democrats in the House voted to actually all these policies that caused the problem. It's the Democrats in the House who champion defunding the police and the movement across the nation. It's the Democrats who have supported during the riots to bail people out. At the same time, we have a vice president who has done that. So thankfully, maybe a mayor wants to do something different, but why doesn't other people join with him? Because I know on this side of the aisle, we will. He's got, on the post today, just 10 criminals, 500 crimes. Think about that for one moment. Nobody supports that, but unfortunately, the elected body in New York from the State House? Why doesn't the governor do something about the prosecutors? I just saw a Republican governor in Florida do something about it. I think others will. And the one clear message that we have, it doesn't have to be partisan, but the extreme positions that the Democrats have taken against the police officers, against holding people accountable for the actions they have taken will all change. We want America to be safe, every single neighborhood in America. Even if you look to San Francisco, not a place there's very many Republicans, they recalled their DA because that DA had the exact same policy as the Democratic Party.
And there are Democratic candidates seizing on this meeting to make their own stands. I would ask that you and the deputy inspector respond to the Hochul campaign statement that Zeldin and McCarthy are insurrection apologists. Just giving you a chance to respond.
Really?
That you turned your back on Capitol police officers and you're here now.
If that's one person playing politics, then I would simply say to the governor, get rid of the prosecutors that won't uphold the law. You have the power to do it, and do it today. Why did you wait so long? Why did you encourage people to go after an Allison or Lee? Why didn't you stand up for the very moment that they attacked Lee on stage? Why didn't you say that was wrong? Why didn't you say that person should be held in jail? Why did you wait till the press comes? Why do we have to wait for her to act when we're sitting here with the police officers having a roundtable discussion? Why isn't she here? She's the one playing politics. I never mentioned her name. I came to sit down with police officers to learn. How do we make the streets safer? All she wants to do is go to Twitter and make politics. But that's why I hope New York has a new direction with a new plan. Because right now it's not working. She is the governor, and she is the governor on record that only watched homicides, rapes, robberies increase. She could do something about it. We're craving to be actually ask the public to lend us the power. Because if you lend us the power, we will do something about it. And it won't be talking on Twitter. It will be making the streets safer.
Leader McCarty, if I may
Yes.
ask two questions, one on and off topic, followed. On the federal level, what can you do? You're talking about cash bail reform, you're talking about being tough on crime. If you regain majority in the House, what can you do on the federal level, especially when it comes to hate crime?
Well, the hate crime's one thing. You're talking about other crimes as well. But on a federal level, we have the ability to pass law about hate crime. We've done it before, and we can do it again. We've watched a rise in hate crime based upon individuals and based upon people attacking. You see a rise of individuals just on the faith, their Jewish faith, of what they're being attacked. That has got to stop. We can also do things on the federal level. We provide cop grants. We can incentivize cities that you can have the cop grant if your prosecutor is upholding the law. We can hold these prosecutors' feet to the fire. We can give transparency. We can provide incentives for people to become an officer as well. We can give retentive bonuses as well so they can stay on the job in the process. We can actually send a new message to people that we're not defunding the police, we respect you. We appreciate you. We know you're putting your life on the line. We can also go after, just like within hate crimes, we can go after if officers are having crimes against them. So, did you have a second question?
Yeah, off topic. What's your views on the resumption of the Biden administration talks with Iran? And if you are
What's
elected, and if you're elected as speaker, what can you do in the House to stop that? Would you invite the Israeli leader, whoever that is, to come present their case? I mean,
Nicole
can
and
you
I
stop it?
just came back from Israel this year, going through, doing tours throughout. The one thing I will say is Iran should never be able to allow to have a nuclear weapon. I think the Abraham Accords were some of the best actions taken for the Middle East in the last 30, 40 years. This administration should have built on that. To actually turn right back around to Iran and appease them is wrong. It should be very clear to the entire world that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. And to go soft is wrong. We've watched it before. We've watched the action of this administration. Too late providing weapons to Ukraine to defend themselves, and we're watching what's happening at Taiwan today. It was the weak message from this president and this administration that China tried to dictate to where Americans can travel and the Speaker of the House can travel. We need a strong voice. We need America to stand exactly where they know they stand. The greatest ally in the Middle East is Israel, and Iran is a threat not just to Israel but to the entire world, and they should never be able to Yes, sir.
The Manhattan Borough President slammed your visit here today. He said you have zero value to tell us about public safety, unless he's going to announce that he has grown a backbone and is ready to stand up to the NRA.
Is that the
How do
Manhattan
you
Borough,
respond
is that
to
the
that?
Manhattan Borough President that as a city council member voted to cut $1 billion from the NYPD? Is that the same Manhattan Borough President?
I think that may be, did you have something else?
No, I mean, listen,
That's the answer.
the leader has come down to hear directly from law enforcement. And to your point, Eric Adams is calling for change from Governor Kathy Hochul, and she's putting out cute tweets that are questioning Lee's commitment, Congressman Zeldin's commitment to law enforcement as well as the leaders. I would never have retired from the New York City Police Department and stepped into this arena if I believed in any way that Congressman Zeldin had anything but the utmost respect for all law enforcement around the city, around the state, and around the country. He has proven that with not only his actions in Congress, not only his actions as a military officer, but also his actions in tapping as his second in command, as his vice of the state, as his partner in his rescue mission to save our state, a law enforcement executive with the New York City Police Department for almost 25 years. This is his commitment to public safety. This is his commitment to backing the blue, and it's right out there. Eric Adams is trying to rescue his city. It's in a spiraling decline, and we have so many victims that are getting re-victimized by these reckless and dangerous laws. Kathy Hochul is putting out tweets and saying she needs more data. Every data point is a victim. Every victim has a family. This is what we are here protecting. The congressman and the congresswoman came down here because they need to hear directly from the lips of law enforcement what they need to be successful, directly from the hearts of law enforcement what they need to put our communities first. This is Congressman Zeldin and the leaders' commitment to public safety and law and order. And this is why in 96 days, we believe that we will resume control of the House and we will be able to take New York State in the direction that it needs to go to return it to glory and to keep our citizens safe.
Yeah, I never met that councilman, but he owes an apology to his constituents.
Not only that,
There's a reason why crime continues to rise. Go ahead, Anthony.
and not only does he owe an apology to the people of the city of New York, but he owes an apology to every member of law enforcement that's in this room. I think Allison would agree, we both wore the uniform, we both couldn't be prouder to be members of the NYPD. And in this room, there's collectively hundreds of years of institutional knowledge that have served blood, sweat, and tears into this city. And for a guy who has basically made his mark on defunding the police and anti-police rhetoric, the value that the leader brings here today is the fact that he's opening his ears, opening his arms, and listening to the members of law enforcement so that in 96 days when we take back the House, there's a clear and concise message to Washington, D.C. and everywhere throughout this nation that the United States stands with law enforcement.
I thank you all for coming, and I thank all of you for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.